There I was in a terrible car accident. My car flipped upside down. I found myself burning, and I could literally feel the pull of, okay, this is my last breath. And I blacked out. I remember being like, okay, this is it. I woke up in the hospital with burns everywhere. I had a rod in my back. Been told I'm never gonna have children. I'm never gonna walk properly again. I lost my volleyball scholarship. I found myself subscribed and prescribed to the system. I would shake. I was totally convinced that there's no way out. What I did was I left and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go to California and F medical school. I'm just gonna go to fashion school and art school for a bit. So I did. Somebody called me one day and she's like, hey, you wanna go to this music festival called Coachella? And I was like, yeah, why not? I went to really just dance for myself. This boy at that point, he saw me from afar. So that's how I met my husband. He took me to the DJ booth and he said, will you just breathe? Like, you look like you need to just breathe with me. And that concept was really wild. And he was like, you know, I'm done with your pain story. And I love this story because you relate to yourself in your pain body. You become the pain. And he actually taught me a technique called emotional freedom technique. Fast forward a week, I'm off of all the medications. I now have 2 children. I was told I wasn't going to be able to have children. And so that's what I hope to show everybody, is that on the other side of your pain is your purpose.
How important do you think that every one of us needs to kind of stop and just look at what we've been through, how are we making our decisions?
I think every single person needs to go through the process. You have to take care of your mind, body, and spirit. You have to move your body a little bit. You have to speak beautiful words to yourself. You have to look in the mirror and have those affirmations. You have to be able to say, I'm the fucking best. First thing, gratitude. Having so much gratitude for the tiniest things will make your heart expand. No screens before an hour before bed, an hour before when you wake up in the morning. So I always say, check in with yourself before you check in with the rest of the world. Imagine if people were healed. And the prerequisite to the full embodiment of your purpose is healing. 1,000,000%.
Okay, so introducing my next guest, very special guest, my soul sister, Shayoon, LightForce Healer, entrepreneur, change maker, a mother, a wife, a woman that's on a mission to help the world break through their physical and emotional trauma, to find purpose, tap into their truest, most powerful self. Such an honor, Shayoon.
Thank you so much for your beautiful intro. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me. Finally.
I know, we made it. We got here, right?
That's all you. That's all your manifestation. That's all your drive. And when someone reaches out to me with that much heart and that much soul, what am I supposed to do? Of course I'll fly across the world to see you.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you, Shayoon. I mean, there's many levels that I want to say thank you on because of my own kind of journey. And I feel like there's a reason that this connection happened. But I want to first go back to, before we kind of go into the LightForce Center, what it means, what it does, just what was the catalyst of that kind of showing up in your life? What was that, there was that moment that something happened in your life where you were like, something needs to change.
Absolutely. So there I was in a terrible car accident with my car flipped upside down, 18 years old, biggest dreams, biggest scholarships, biggest, dance academy, biggest everything. And I found myself burning in a car upside down and my seatbelt wouldn't come off. So I could literally feel the pull of, okay, this is my last breath. And I was trapped upside down and I couldn't get out. And I remember being like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm going to say my prayers. And then I blacked out and I woke up in the hospital with burns everywhere. I had a rod in my back. I had been told I'm never going to have children. I'm never going to walk properly again. I lost my volleyball scholarship. I lost every intention to be a kid. I lost what I felt at that time, that I lost my youth. It was those pivotal years that you're like, wow, this is when I'm supposed to go out and just, live. And I found myself subscribed and prescribed to the system. They had me on every pill, every alternative besides what would actually heal me. And so I became quickly, in the system with believing. Like my thoughts were, I can't get over this. Nobody ever told me like, this is what you can do for your mental health. Nobody told me, it's going to be fine. They told me all of the extreme of the opposite. And so I lived a life for a few years thinking I'm never going to be able to do any of those things again. And so I took the pills, I partied, I did everything else to mask the emotions, when internally I was just really depressed and sad, and I couldn't heal. And so what I did was I left, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to go to California, and that will make me happy because I need to be by the sea. And you know what? F medical school. I'm just going to go to fashion school and art school for a bit. So I did. And I found myself at a festival called Coachella. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, that festival. Yeah.
That one. 2010, circa 2010. And at that point, I was doing really awesome things. Like in Los Angeles, it brought out my spirit again. I was pursuing fashion and art, and I was on TV, and I was a host, and I was doing everything that everyone would have thought was the dream job. But I was doing it sad. I was doing it depressed. I was doing it medicated. And somebody called me one day, and she's like, hey, you want to go to this music festival called Coachella? And I was like, yeah, why not? And then in the back of my head, and it was always in the back of my head, but I'm going to be in so much pain, or I'm not going to be able to make it to this stage because I can't run fast enough, or maybe I'll just get an extra prescription so that
at that stage, was the pain still there?
Yeah, every day lived with it. Could barely wear heels. Couldn't do most. I mean, I would literally have to be numb to go out. And so I would shake, like I was just on so many different things, and my mind was just angry and sad and all of these emotions,
Do you think you kind of felt that this is my life now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I was totally convinced that there's no way out. I'm going to have to live with this forever. So fast forward, I'm at Coachella, and do you remember a company called Spirit Hoods? They were the faux fur animal hats with the paws. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to really just dance for myself and be free, because my passion is dancing, and it's my outlet for creativity, and everything that I do is dance. Trained classical since I was little, like hip hop, all of it. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to be barefoot, because that's truly who I am on the inside, is the free spirit girl, barefoot, twirling in the grass. So I was in my zone. This boy at that point approached me with this thing on his head, and he's like, hey, do you want to, no, actually, sorry, rewind. He saw me from afar, and he said that he didn't interrupt me because I was in my zone. And then again, that same night, in a sea of 100,000 people, because you usually don't bump into the same person again, he found me, and he asked me if—
You bumped into him again.
Yeah, I bumped into him again. I didn't notice him the first time. And he took me to the DJ booth, and he said, will you just breathe? Like, you look like you need to just breathe with me. And that concept was really wild. I was like, no one really says that to anyone,
Yeah, that's not a chat
and
up
it's
line
my
I've heard
thing.
before.
Like, I always tell
breathe.
people to breathe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I met my husband. But during that time of Spirit Hoods, I was invited to a lot of their parties because they were designing hoods for everyone. So like Snoop Dogg, Miley Cyrus, Bieber, it was like the it thing. It became a multi-million-dollar company overnight. They were on Shark Tank, all of it. So I got to tour all the festivals, everything in music. So I was super stoked because I was back with my passion. And one night I remember I was with him, and we had to go to this party in Vegas, and he was like, let's go. This is a really big night for them. And it was huge. And I felt bad. I made it to Vegas. I get to my room, and I'm like, I cannot go. Like, I'm so in pain. Like, you have no idea. And he was like, I'm done with your pain story. And I love this story because you relate to yourself in your pain body. You become the pain. So anything anybody says, you're so triggered by it because you're like, no, you don't understand. Everything is so defensive. Like, you don't understand how I feel. So I would just be like, all right, whatever, do your healing thing on me. So he's like, just give me 5 minutes. And he actually taught me a technique called emotional freedom technique, where you tap all of your meridians and you can release anything within a few minutes. So I kid you not, within a few minutes, I was touching my toes, downward dog, like FaceTiming my parents, like, oh my God, I can move my back. Because imagine, I hadn't even been able to bend over properly.
That must have been
5 years. It was wild. And what it did for me was actually, it blew my mind.
Wow.
Because I had all of this anger, resentment, sadness. I was mad at my body. And so when I released that, all the pain went away like that. Fast forward a week, I'm off of all the medications. I now have 2 children. I was told I wasn't going to be able to have children. So it's the power of your mind, right? And so that, to answer your question full circle, was the catalyst for me, because I became obsessed with wanting to show everybody that you can come out of this. And from there, I completely changed my life. I studied in the jungle for 11 years with different tribes and different indigenous. I have every certification you can think of. I went to Harvard for nutrition. I have done my Reiki. I've done quantum healing, hypnosis. I wanted to do everything in the name of science because people need so much verification because they can't just seem to trust within themselves their spirit. So you have to back it by science. So I wanted to develop something that was going to allow the person to completely clear 100% of their trauma within a short period of time, but using science and spirit and love as the foundation, bringing people back to the foundation of seeing who they truly are without any of that was my number one goal. So
it's honestly, I mean, it's such an amazing path that you've taken. Because becoming almost like the victim in your own story.
Yeah.
And so many of us have lived that in various different forms. Yeah. Yours was a car accident and something bad happens, and sometimes you make that your reality. Yeah. And not knowing that you can come out of that is where most of us live.
Yeah.
Why do you think this work is so important? And how do you think it can really impact globally, how people actually start to go, hang on a second, this has happened. I could go get medicated. I could go to the hospital. Yeah. There should be perhaps another option that you go, maybe I need to address something that's going on internally. Yeah. And that needs to be more of everyday conversation rather than thinking, am I first just going to go get medicated, or do I just brush it aside and go, I just got to live with this?
Yeah, well, we're living in a world where we're told numerous amounts of lies for everything, right? The system, the school education, the medical system, the health system, the food system, everything is poisoned. There's chemtrails falling out of the sky. Our children are being vaccinated. We're being programmed into so much that it's hard for people to want to understand that they can reprogram or to trust the process of anything other than what is being fed to them propaganda-wise. A lot of it is not people's fault, like people don't know anything else. Luckily, I've been blessed enough to live like a very well-traveled life to be able to experience so many different things, but a lot of people don't ever even leave their hometown. So I think now in our day and age, it's so important to really look around to see, like, there's 2 types of people. People that are here for eat, sleep, entertainment, go do that. Or there's people who are here for a purpose. And there's people who are meant for something so much bigger, and they know it, but maybe they don't know how to get there. Or maybe they've gone through so much that it's clouding their purpose, So my mission actually is to show people that you can completely reframe your entire mind. It takes 30 days. It takes 21 actual days to create new habits. But when you remove 100% of everything that has had any negative effect, your body will recorrect itself. It's science. You wouldn't cut your hand and go about your whole day bleeding on everything. You would tend to your wound. And the same goes for our emotional well-being, we have to tend to those little things, even if they're micro traumas, because you never know if it's like the kid on the playground that bullied you when you were 5, or the abuse that you received mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually. All of that has a huge impact on our brain and our bodies. And so, of course, dis-ease comes from anything that's not taken care of emotionally will turn into something physical. Stress, anxiety, fear, pain, all of that are at tens when people start with us. It's because there's no solution. You can't meditate your way into healing. You have to do the work. You can drink all the green juice you want and go to all those yoga classes, but until you take care of what's inside of you emotionally, it's not going to work. It's like putting a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah, I hear that. And in fact, I do, sometimes I've got, even friends that perhaps are going down the health and wellness route.
Yeah.
And you're like, but there's things that have happened, trauma that's within their life that if you don't address that in the first instance, before you go and do all the other stuff. I mean, one of the things that I remember being always quite ambitious, but having this kind of like, I'll show you. And that was my driving force.
You need to prove
and
it.
I felt like I was always coming from a point of trying to prove myself.
Yeah.
And the minute I started to let go of that, and I was like, it doesn't mean anything. Actually, I can come from a place where it's joy and it's all these beautiful things. But for a long time in my life, I was absolutely driven by, I'll show you.
Yeah.
How important do you think that every one of us needs to kind of stop and just look at what we've been through and actually kind of assess how are we making our decisions? Where does it come from? Is this societal? Is this what I've grown up with? Does this belong to me anymore? Like, do you feel like everyone needs to have like a moment where you do like these check-ins with yourself?
I think every single person needs to go through the process, whatever they choose their process to be. I feel like you have to do the work internally to even be able to do what you're doing. For example, you have so many people doing or thinking that they're living in their purpose, but they're unhealed, so they can only operate at such a level, right? Imagine if people were healed. And the prerequisite to the full embodiment of your purpose is healing, 1,000,000%. If you can clear everything and then you step out into your full potential of who you truly are, imagine, right? Imagine you had no fear, no pain, none of that. You can look at the wound, you see the scar, it doesn't hurt, right? And most people don't do that, Scientists have mapped the brain where if you close your eyes, your brain does not know the difference between what's in front of you or if it had happened before. So your body is still running as if something has still happened until you clear that emotion, which is why it's so important to completely clear it. Because if your eyes are closed and your brain still thinks that incident just happened, right? It's going to be running through your system, which will in turn be physical. I think everybody needs to go through to be in your full authentic self, you have to serve on that level. You can't operate there. And that's why, the words spirituality and wellness and all of that, it's just like, makes me a little bit sick now because there's so many spiritual bypassers who are just doing all of the things that are distorted versus the true teachings and the essence of any of that. Doesn't have any ego, doesn't have anything. I truly believe like I'm not the healer. I'm empowering you to heal yourself. That guru mentality that this is my healer, this is my coach, this is my therapist, it doesn't work. Like you have to believe in the power of yourself. Like I'm just a teacher, right? And then when the teacher disappears, the student,
I think
arrives.
and I think that's such a beautiful and poignant point, Shayoon, because yes, we are living in a time where we're getting all this like information. You can follow whoever you need to follow.
Yeah.
And you think you've done the work by simply looking at it and you've done a couple of things. But for example, obviously I've been doing the morning meditation and I thought I dealt with a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that kind of like halfway in, how much was coming up for me.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd done quite a bit of work. And I was like, actually, there's some things that, the whole part of even forgiveness in a way that is really forgiving from love.
Yeah.
Not like I've forgiven you.
Yeah.
But like
But what you do with forgiveness is you take the power away from the person that's holding the power of you not being able to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you do.
Yeah. And when I heard that, it was, for me, I'd never heard it like that, because when people tell you to forgive, you're like either going, I forgive.
And then you can feel that power, right, that they have over you, for you to not be able to release your heart is massive.
But the fact that it was framed in the way of forgive them because you say it because I don't even,
you deserve it, not them.
Absolutely. Amen to that. But it's those types of triggers that we don't realize on a daily basis that we're dealing with. And we wonder why we're in fight or flight, or like my nervous energy is all over the place today. I don't know why. And it actually just revealed to me there's still things that I'm working out, that perhaps even though my life is different, those little things have still affected me in some way. So I think, honestly, I do actually feel, why I want to speak to you is because I believe that this is something that, generationally, globally, we need to be talking about, that there should be another option when people go, mental health is a huge thing right now. And, I've spoken to a lot of mental health experts, and people come from different schools of thought that, you may just be talking, you might want to like dissect stuff, but there should be another element that we're talking about, which is the healing of your trauma, the going back, the removal of that power. And the fact that I think this thing that you talk about having an end date, that we've become a society where the healing becomes this lifelong journey that you feel like, my therapist, you're talking about your therapist that's been with you for like, God knows how long. And you're going, have we become a kind of generation that feels like we always need somebody?
Healing is not a lifelong journey. It has an end date, and you choose that. And the second you make that decision that you're done, khalas, you're done, then everything will happen for you, and everything is happening for you, not to you. And when you can realize that, like, the world is happening for you. The universe is conspiring in your favor if you just trust in yourself and in your healing, it can happen. And the difference between full healing and partial healing, which is what we do, it's called mapping. For instance, close your eyes for a second. Okay? Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, I'm just going to do 3 emotions, and I want you to tell me on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, honestly, where they are now. Okay? Okay. Anger on a day-to-day.
So is 10 the worst?
Yeah.
Okay, my anger is low. I'd say like 3.
Okay, perfect. Anxiety.
6.
Okay. Fear.
Honestly, since I've been doing this meditation, I'd say it's come down.
Okay.
I think now my fear is at, I'd say it's probably at a 6, 7, 6.
Okay, open your eyes. Anything above a 5 or more is chronic, and you're living with that every single day.
I did well.
No, you did. But you're doing well because you can connect to yourself, right? But imagine the entire long list of fear, anxiety, pain, whatever it is, displacement from yourself, from your emotions. People are running this program, right? Yeah. Imagine having none of that, really. Wow. Imagine everything being healed or 0, right? So the difference is in the 4 weeks, you can see how your numbers drop. But so what we do is something called emotional mapping, where the housing sentence is so important. So we realize that we have so many micro traumas, and we start from the beginning. Unfortunately, I work with thousands of people who have been severely abused sexually, physically, mentally, before they can even remember, as children, okay? So like somebody's sentence will be like, for instance, you have to be really specific. The time when this happened, I felt, and you have emotional traumas under each one, right? So this is how bad it is sometimes. Like the time when my father molested me, I felt, right? So imagine how many of those like that you hold. You would feel what? Abandoned, scared, shocked, all of that. And this, we're talking maybe 30, 40 years ago that people are still holding on to, and they're all at 10s. So you take that and you do that with everything in your life. The time when I was bullied on the playground, the time my mom shouted at me, the time my ex-husband cheated on me, the time this, the time that. And systematically through this great program that we've curated, you clear all of it. And it seems like a lifelong task. Actually, the healing is the easy part, because when you can let go, fully forgive from that place, but fully look at your map and be like, okay, I have this, this, and this. Like, I want to lower all my numbers, right?
Yeah.
And you see miracles happen, autoimmune diseases, cancers, stage 4 cancers, I've seen it all happen. And that's the beauty. I've seen it with me. I'm the byproduct of it. You know what I mean? You can have the craziest situations, suppression, cancers, all of that comes from holding on, arthritis, knee problems, dementia, not being able to see straight, not having, all of it has power. And when we gain our own power back and we take our power back, which is what we need to do, we need to clear all of our traumas. We need to help our ancestral lineages. We have to break the cycles. We have to be the people that are here to do something other than suffer. We're not meant to suffer. We were not born to have a terrible life. We were born to have a beautiful, loving life. How do you do that? You have to clear it, and then you have to make the decision, and then you go on with your purpose.
That's just so beautiful, so intentional.
Yeah.
It also is so freeing.
Yeah.
Because you sometimes believe that is something that now you have to, carry with you.
Yeah.
And to actually kind of put it into such a kind of like, put it all out there.
What are you going to do? Out. My number one thing I say to everybody, what are you going to do with your pain? How are you going to turn your pain into purpose? How? You have to be able to inspire. You have to be able to take what you've been through and completely give it away. Like, there's so many moments and so many things, like in the work that I do, all the people that come through, we have a purpose course at the end, right? And that's my favorite part, because on the other side of your pain, people don't know what to do with it. They've never been there before. Some people are like so used to that pain body, But on the other side of your pain is your purpose. Why are we here? What are we doing? What's your mission? What's your vision? What's your purpose? How are you going to get there? What are your life goals? How are you going to map out now who you want to be, how you're going to do it, and what the plan is? Because there's a new earth here taking place right now. And I know you can feel it and see it and everything that's going on. The world needs more healers. The world needs more inspirational creatives, artists, people who are going to take care of the planet, people who are doing philanthropic things. We don't need more of, anything that's not of the highest vibration, because we're here for a purpose. We have limited time to make this the greatest experience and to inspire other people to do that, And so that's what I hope to show everybody, is that on the other side of your pain is your purpose. And when you find that and you know what you're doing, khalas.
Oh my God. I'm literally I'm so inspired. And I'm just so glad that there is a voice and a technique and actually just some clarity on how you can get to the other side, that there is something for you outside of wherever the kind of like the prison that you can create for yourself. Tell me a little bit about the LightForce Center.
Yeah.
Why did you start it? I mean, I can tell why you started it, but what kind of got it going? What's your kind of like purpose behind that?
Yeah. So the LightForce Center is the center of light within your heart. I always say the light is the way is the light. What's not of the light is in the way. And the reason for this was actually my philanthropic endeavors with children. I used to live in Bali, and actually on vacation there, my first week there, my child was almost taken in an attempted kidnapping. And because of that, because I turned that pain into purpose, yes, there was a whole ordeal with it that sent me into a loop. But after I cleared it, I had to make peace with so much. And in order to go through your darkest moments, your deepest, darkest moments. I mean, my child was almost sold into a sex ring. Okay. So to be able to forgive on that level, to be able to speak about it without the pain and without the anger and without the what ifs, and you can't live in what if, You have to take your pain and you have to do something with it. So that was a really big catalyst for me. And I'm actually glad that it happened, because now I'm able to help serve and save so many children's lives, because I had no idea that this world existed. So what I really wanted to do was start a foundation that helped rescue children from child sexual abuse. I work with Child Rescue Coalition as well, who tracks predators online in real time. Hundreds of thousands of millions of files are shared daily of children being, and we don't call it porn because porn is consensual. It's called child sexual abuse material, and it's being traded, and it's the real pandemic. So some of the most horrific things that you'll hear are things that I have to deal with on a daily. So I have to be able to look at these horrific requests from people who want children whose umbilical cords are still attached to them so they could do what they need to do sexually. I have to look at files constantly about babies being, taken. And my take from it was, let me create somewhere where I can share this to all the parents, to everyone, because if I didn't know the preventative measures, 90% of children that are abused know the abuser, and it's in your circle. It's the family, it's the teachers. My children are homeschooled for a reason. Parents are putting their child in front of a screen at 2 years old. Like, the way parenting is now is, in my opinion, very low vibrational. Most of the children are being groomed on screens. And so I really wanted to create a space that I could give all of this material to everybody so that they can at least know how they're going to prevent something like this, because that's the real pandemic, to be honest. And we got to save the children. The children are our future. The children that are here right now are here for a massive purpose. They're all indigo star children, So I really wanted to do the LightForce Center for that. I wanted a place for people, no matter where they are in the world, to be able to come and heal. I'm helping heal stage 4 cancer on Zoom calls. If you have the will and the yes, it's going to happen for you.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for the work that you are doing. Honestly, thank you from deep depth of my heart.
Yeah.
Going through something as kind of shocking and bewildering as a moment like that, being a mother, if I put myself in that position, I can just imagine.
It's mortifying.
It's absolutely mortifying. Yeah. But to find a way through that, to not hold that, so that now everything that you do going forward is now hindering all the other work that you're going to do, that becomes your thing that you now live in. Yeah, but absolutely. Actually going, right, I need to now do the work. And I think that's really important, that we are constantly moving. And when something happens, because things happen that are outside of our control, right?
Always.
And even if we've done a lot of work like you still had to have a moment to go, this is big. I need to work through this.
Yeah, the key as well is, like, we also teach you, you're human, things are going to happen. Yeah. But you'll know what to do. You sit down and you clear it. You never let anything sit in your system for more than 24 hours. Otherwise it'll fester and it'll keep going. Like when you have an argument with someone and you hold it in.
Yeah, my mom used to say, never go to sleep with a bad argument.
Yeah, communication is key. And people who are still arguing or still shout or still use, I always say, raise your voice, not, don't raise your voice, raise your vibration. There's always a way to speak in a manner with love. And when you do everything from the foundation of love, there's not much room for anything else. And there shouldn't be. And that's how everything should be, from the foundation of love. When we're born, starts in the womb, starts before that, but our default program is love. Everything else is taught, when you come out, you're a sinner, you're they've taken birthing away from women. Like, you have to be in a bright hospital with, like, and of course those are people's choices, but it's because we've been programmed into fear. All of this is fear-based, right? You fear God, you fear your teachers, you fear everything from such a young age. Yeah. So, you're taking away childhood as well, where it should just be play. And we forget that in our adult lives, we should be playing, constantly. Music, creativity, art, good people. You surround yourself with the best people, and it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference when you're doing you. I always say, you know, you have to put your oxygen mask on in the airplane before you try to help anybody else, right?
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself before you take care of anybody else, because when you're full, then you can serve. If you're not, then you shouldn't be serving.
100%.
Yeah.
I got to say that being brought up in a, Indian household, it was very much part of the culture to kind of be in the sacrifice mode, right?
Yeah.
Like, I sacrificed this so that you could do this.
Yeah.
And you get it. You get the hurt that was there.
Yeah.
And I think that whole thing of breaking even generational trauma is such a thing that you don't realize that you're carrying it.
Yeah.
But you do feel like all the things that you hear, all the stories that you hear,
Yeah.
that even those are part of things that you need to work through.
Yeah.
And kind of think, how is that playing out in your life going forward?
Yeah, they're all stories, you know, there's always three sides, or you just never know. So I think that we have to create our own history. I think that we have to recreate our own traditions. I think that I know how it feels. I grew up half Pakistani, half Indian, but from Kenya, Muslim, you know, I get it. I get all of the things that we're supposed to do. But I think it's time to shatter and be disruptive and create our own traditions and do what makes us the happiest, you know, and stop worrying. My biggest thing is like, stop worrying about what everybody else thinks. It doesn't matter, you know.
It really doesn't matter,
really
does
doesn't
it?
fucking matter.
It really doesn't.
Does not, you know. And the second you can do that, the second you can say, okay, I'm just going to do me.
Yeah.
I really don't care. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I actually really don't care what anybody thinks. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a very self-loving thing to do, because I cannot live my life thinking, what's this person going to think? What, you know, if I wear this.
It's very liberating.
Do you. Whatever you do to make yourself happy, do that, you know, tenfold, always, all in.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So tell me a little bit about so for our listeners who are listening, right? Because I'm just imagining listening to this thinking, okay, how do I start? What do I do?
Yeah.
Like, give us a little bit of like, look, perhaps, I don't know, there might be something that you could go on and listen to, or perhaps, you know, is there anything that you could do?
I've created a link just for your listeners.
Okay.
So they can go to this link and they can just try the morning ritual. If you want to change your life, you have to have rituals. You have to have something that you do every single day that's going to enhance your brain waves to make a change within your brain, to make a change then in your body and your life. If you sit down and you do a morning ritual like you've been doing, you've experienced it, right? No screens before, an hour before bed, an hour before, and when you wake up in the morning, non-negotiable. It changes. You can have a 46% increase in your day if you do not touch your phone in the morning, which is pretty big, huge, right? Because everything else is a program. So I always say, check in with yourself before you check in with the rest of the world. It's like you have to fully be aligned in order to be able to go out and put on your suit and be protected, because it's intense, you know. I work with a lot of high-level entrepreneurs. You know, it's very important. You know, all the greats, all the big people that are doing multiple things a day, they all have a routine. So I always say, get up in the morning, first thing, gratitude. Thank you for this roof over my head. Thank you for the water. Like, you can change the molecular structure of your water just by your intention. Intention is key for everything, you know? Having so much gratitude for the tiniest things will make your heart expand. And if your heart can expand up to 6 feet before you leave the house, that's how you'll lead your day. And so make a hot cup of water with lemon in it, alkaline your body, and sit. If you do not have time to sit for meditation, you should sit longer. It's the fact. If you do not have time to clear yourself, then you have no business doing anything else, because you can't operate like that. It's spiritual hygiene. You have to take care of your mind, body, and spirit. You have to move your body a little bit. You have to speak beautiful words to yourself. You have to look in the mirror and have those affirmations. You have to be able to say, I'm the fucking best, you know, and I believe it. And when you believe it, that's when the magic happens. You know, you cannot give up 5 minutes before the miracle. You have to work at it and work at it and work at it. And oftentimes people are like, I cannot sit for that long.
Yeah,
You're never going to be able to sit for that long if you don't practice, right?
I mean, I said that, and I had that whole internal struggle where I was going, oh, I can't, I'm too busy. And I kept saying, and I literally had to stop myself and go, what are you busy with? What are you busy with, Ange? And I actually realized that when you start to make promises to yourself, there's something that happens. There's something really meaningful that happens inside that you go, I took that time for myself. So I woke up earlier. I now wake up at 5.
There you go. But 5 a.m. club.
I know, 5 a.m. club. But I also realized with the 5 a.m., that time is almost golden. Oh my gosh,
it's the best. Everyone's
such a beautiful time of the day.
It's godly.
I also found out that I've got a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 2-year-old.
You have a 14-year-old?
That's another podcast. I know. Stop. I know. So I haven't given my 12-year-old a phone yet, which I think I'm the only person in the school that has it.
You're intelligent. Highly.
But my 14-year-old does. And I just had a chat with the kids. I was like, look, guys, and my daughter uses my phone when she wants to look at stuff. I said, look, guys, I'm doing this thing. So I just want to share this with you. I'm doing this thing, this meditation in the morning. And something that I'm realizing is that we're just, even when we're in the room together, we're not together. And I was like, do you think that's how we want to live?
No.
And like my 14-year-old was like,
disconnected.
He was like, you're right, Mom. And I said, so look, I get it that I'm the first one to pick my phone up.
Yeah.
Because we can't actually say something to our kids, right? When we can't get off it ourselves. Like it just feels like you just can't, you don't have anywhere to stand when you're trying to tell your 14-year-old to get off the phone when you are the one scrolling on Instagram, right? So I was like, what we're going to do is we're going to put it downstairs on this table, and you can come and have a look if you want to go and check something, but we're not going to constantly have it with us where you're just there
it's
mindless.
Like a lifeline now.
It's that mindlessly going. And honestly, our evenings where we've come together,
that makes me so happy.
Got jazz on, I'm making some dinner, and I'm like, I feel switched off. Whereas before I could not switch off. So it is a really powerful thing. It does take work as well. It's not like it was easy. I'm going to be honest with you.
Nothing great comes easy.
Absolutely. It does take it. And it takes a moment of going, are you ready to?
And then when you're there, you're so proud, right?
Yeah.
Like, I did it. I can do it. So, and then when you can master that, you can master anything. If you can have discipline in what you eat, you can master anything. But if you have discipline and discernment in everything that you do, you're setting yourself up for gold.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's another thing on that note. Like, we have to teach the children, you know, the children are where it's at. Imagine if your children, my 5-year-old comes to me and says, Mom, can I clear this? I have this emotion. And he'll sit down and he'll clear it. Imagine having an army and globally of children who are so emotionally intelligent versus putting them in a box and making them study one thing. And, you know, that's not how it's supposed to be. Children need the earth. They need their feet in the ground. They just want your time. They just want you to play with them, right? Because growing up is a trap, like Peter Pan says, right? You just want to play. Play is the key foundation to being able to live with that beautiful open heart and character and take that with you in everything, you know? Every child should know what the plants are versus what, you know, superheroes and all of that stuff is. Like, they should be able to name things that are going to actually impact them. They should know how to make a fire. They should know how to cook their own food at 4 and 5. You know what I mean? And you know, all those other things are beautiful and great experiences. And I'm not saying like I don't do, you know, commercial stuff. But what I'm saying is it's gotten too out of hand to where they don't know.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have that option.
I think we understand we live in this kind of, this time that is changing at the, you know, at the speed of light almost, right? That we all are kind of, you know, we all have our phones, we all have these gadgets, we all have these things going on. But it's about having a moment to stop and going, can I create a framework that works for me and my family?
Absolutely.
Can I just actually raise higher than what's running around?
Yeah. And
I do actually think that some of the work that I've done with the LightForce Center has actually, even though I was feeling like I've had these breakthroughs, I have had lots of breakthroughs over the last 10 years when I took a real change in my life. But I feel like this next stage is actually going a little bit more kind of intentional on the smaller things, because the big things, we think it's the big thing, but it's the small things.
It's the small
every
things
single
in
day
life, always.
that is, just
the small things will make up the big energy. All the small things matter.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
all matter. 99.9999912% of everything that we perceive material is actually matter. And 0.0001201% is energy. So if we actually focus on the energy instead of the material and the attachments and all of that, we'd be able to have that energetic flow within our system. But we look at everything else as we're spiritual, physical beings having a spiritual experience, when we're not. We're energetic beings. We're all energy, and everything has to have that. And everything goes in flow. It's like water. If you have good energy, it will flow. If you have good intentions, it will flow. If you put all of that love and all of that ambition into everything that you do, you are setting yourself up for just light.
Wow.
You have to practice. The small things are what matters. Definitely. I love that. I love that you said that.
Thank you, Shayoon.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. I am literally sitting here. I don't even know the podcast is going on, just taking more and more. I think the world needs this right now more so than ever before.
Yeah.
Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for seeing.
And yes, we're going to put all the links so that you can go on there.
Absolutely.
As a closing tradition, I like to kind of think, if you could go back and give yourself, let's say even that time after you'd had your accident, if you could go back and tell her anything, what's the kind of gift of wisdom, hindsight that you would love to give your younger self?
I wouldn't change anything, to be honest, because I feel like experience is what gets you where you are. If I could talk to my younger self, I would say to always dance, to always play, to never stop being creative, and to live a very earthy life, and to be natural in everything that you do, and to never give up, and to pursue everything that you know that you want, and never let anybody tell you that you can't, and to dream big, and the sky is not the limit. I hate when people say the sky is the limit. I'm like, there's so much more than the sky.
There's a whole universe out there.
There's a whole universe. And in order to tap into that, you have to tap into yourself. And the distance from where you want to go and where you are now is only as great as you think it to be.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Shayoon. That was beautiful.
Thank you for having me. Oh, bless you.